for example, comparing a bicycle and pedestrian project to an EV charging project to a heavy duty diesel replacement project. And so it allows us to compare across several different project types and to, again, rank them based not just on total emission reductions, but the cost effectiveness of those emission reductions.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the collaboration with you and CRTPO. So thank you. And then just a couple extra questions for you. What, I understand that this is setting up some program revisions, but I just have some sort of fundamental questions about the program. If a road is in an ETJ of one of our counties, is it eligible for the discretionary, for the fall call, the 62 million?
Yes, if they're a member, if the jurisdiction is a member.
So like Mecklenburg County ETJ roads would be
Yes.
eligible?
Yes.
And who are all roads in an ETJ within the ETJ of a municipality, or some, like there are places that are not the city of Charlotte, but they're within city of Charlotte's ETJ? Trying to figure out who has the standing and responsibility to bring forward eligible projects for these roads in the ETJ.
So I'm sort of looking at NCDOT. Sometimes NCDOT comes with the applications and they've worked with the jurisdiction, or sometimes the jurisdiction does. So last year there was a Union County project, intersection improvement project, mainly for safety, which was awarded funds, and it was in an unincorporated area, I believe.
Okay, so if it is an orphan road, is it eligible to apply for the $62 million?
So it needs to be on the federal highway, the aid system, or a state road. Yeah, so a local road would have challenges with this program.
Is that a matter of state law or federal law?
That is, it's more federal law, right? Yeah.
Okay, and do we typically use the full amount that's available? Because you were saying there's space, there's room. We didn't reach the $3 million threshold. Like, are we using the full amount that's out there normally? Or is some amount going unused?
The fall called the 62 million, probably will all be programmed. There are some MPOs that don't receive enough applications and they don't use it all. I think that's probably few, but that is not the case for CRTPO. We'll receive more applications than we have funds for.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you, Jennifer. Any other, John?
To kind of add on to what Mr. Rosenberg said, can we go back to the inflationary data? I know you had a footnote there of the source of this data. These numbers are certainly different than other inflationary data charts that I've seen. So can you tell us anything about the origin of these numbers or what they include? Or
Sure, and please keep in mind, this is for construction. So it would be different than like a consumer, you know, what you're buying groceries for.
no, I understand.
So yes, this St. Louis Fed org number is commonly used with economists. Yep. I would probably keep using it. I mean, it's such a standard place to get the number.
But it is, I guess, obviously very specific for road construction. Is that
This is inflation on construction in general. It's not specific just to roadway.
the reason I thought of this is we're proposing to build a new fire station in Matthews, and we have construction inflationary costs that are much lower. They're not certainly not at 10% a year. So I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Questions around the room? Am I missing anybody? All right, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. All right, we'll move down to I-77 South Express Lanes update. So as we all know that there was a request made to have a working group made up of NCDOT and CRTPO staff, and to look at two items in the request is review the unsolicited proposal and then conduct a comparative analysis. So these are two separate items. So during tonight's presentation by DOT and us in there, we'll give an update on the unsolicited proposal review that we requested. And then we also have an update on the comparative analysis. So if you remember the history on this, then it goes way back. You know, we started this thing in 2007, the express lanes history. It had in 2010, MUMPO adopted it. We get into 2014 and we talk about the 2040 MTP and the I-77 managed lanes. Then you get into 2015 to have the feasibility study, 2016, that the DOT ranks the project in P4. Then you get into 2018, you got CRTPO, NCDOT and their ratings and approvals. And then you have the planning and design studies done for that. So in 2022, CRTPO adopted the 2050 MTP and includes the project in that funded list. So, okay. So the fast lane study had 3 phases. The first phase was an overall evaluation across the region. The second phase was a focused on the potential corridors and the projects. I-77 South is one of them. Third phase was the efforts for I-77 North and the 45. As you may remember, per state law, any project that would be associated with some type of tolling in North Carolina must be approved by the local planning organization, which would be us. And so CRTPO first submitted the I-77 Express Lanes South project during the P3 in 2014. So with that, I'm going to flip it over to Brett Knight with NCDOT D10. And we also have David Roy here to facilitate if necessary. But Brett, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Hello, everyone again. Brett Knipe, NCDOT Division 10. Going to continue with our updates on the I-77 South efforts, and we'll cover a lot of information tonight, some of which you've heard before. Some of this will be new, but again, we're talking about an unsolicited proposal that the department received from Centra to proposing to widen I-77 south of Charlotte with express lanes through a P3 delivery, a public-private partnership. And we'll also talk about that comparative analysis that Ron mentioned that you guys also asked us to perform in conjunction with that. So again, February 2022, that's when we received that unsolicited proposal. I believe it was March the next month that we brought that to this board. Again, because as Ron mentioned, we in North Carolina, we're required by law to receive approval by the local planning organization, in this case, CRTPO, to move forward in any direction with any toll related project. So we talked about that for some time up until February of this year, where this body approved NCDOT and requested NCDOT to proceed with an evaluation of that proposal, as well as to conduct that comparative analysis. So we formed a work group. I'll cover the members of that group here, but it was made up of NCDOT and CRTPO staff, legal folks, financial folks, to review this document, and then to eventually come back and report back to this group those findings, which is where we are now. Neil, again, y'all all know Neil very well. He was on the work group with me. Sean Epperson, our deputy division engineer, who's in the room tonight. David Roy with NCTA, Chief Financial Officer, participated in that as well. He's also with us tonight. And then we had other professionals with the department that helped work through that process. And we developed an oversight team that this work group would provide a recommendation to. And then that oversight team would ultimately make that final recommendation for NCDOT as to what to do with this this document. And Chairman Pappas assisted with us, assisted with that effort. Our chief engineer, Chris Peoples, Western Deputy Chief Engineer, Mark Gibbs. We had Carly Alexic, our Chief Communications Officer. David, again, myself participated on that. A lot of these folks you may have not met, but point being is that a lot of folks that are involved in this business that spend a lot of time thinking through this participated to help us draw these conclusions. And so we were able to form these groups and get started in earnest in May. That was about the same time I think I came back for our last update. So we didn't have a lot to cover at that time. But since that time, we've met, reviewed, and found that, that proposal to widen I-77 South essentially was not materially different than what we're already looking at in our own STIP. And so I mentioned that to you guys before. There's been an ongoing effort to develop concepts, to cost out, to determine what would be best for I-77 south of the city, no matter what the delivery mechanism was. So we've been working on that the whole time. And this proposal essentially was proposing to accomplish the same thing. And so based on that, we've decided not to move forward. The proposal itself, it wasn't flawed necessarily, didn't have, it checked all the boxes, met all our minimum requirements. But again, that was that working group's recommendation. What's important to go ahead and note here is though, because we're not moving forward with this proposal, doesn't have any impact on what we're doing with the comparative analysis. It's not slowing down that process. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail later on in the presentation, explain to you guys what we're going to be doing there, but just wanted to point that out. So, talking about the differences or maybe lack thereof between this unsolicited proposal and what is in our existing STIP. As Ron indicated, that project, I-77 South, I-5718 has been around for a number of years. It was recommended by this group to be included in the statewide transportation improvement plan. We have been working on that project. It's been in development for a very long time. And the description there was to widen I-77 with express lanes from I-277 to the South Carolina state line. And the unsolicited proposal was in the same general proximity to widen I-77 South with 2 express lanes, a little bit shorter in length, not quite making it all the way down the South Carolina line, but proposing to terminate closer to the I-485 interchange. So essentially the same project. And the bottom bullet there is pretty important too, because no matter what happened with this process, we were going to be required to conduct this value for money and comparative analysis due to the federal requirements. Anytime you're talking about a project of this size with this scope and really cost, we would have to accomplish this anyhow. So it's really no loss either way. And we're getting started with that work, and we'll go into detail again further in the presentation. So the oversight team that I pointed out agreed with our recommendation from the working group to not move forward with the project, again, because of its similarities with I-5718. This really means nothing more than if we do move forward with a P3 procurement, eventually, if that's a decision you guys make, then that group that submitted the proposal, Centra, would not automatically be shortlisted for if they were to resubmit at that time, because again, we would have to go through that process, competitively procure the project. So moving on from the unsolicited proposal, I'll talk to you a little bit more about the comparative analysis and what that looks like in the timelines. So at the same time, when we were asked to review the unsolicited proposal, we were asked to conduct this comparative analysis, okay, by CRTPO. And all that really is it's a comparison of what would this P3 delivery look like versus a public delivery. There's a value for money analysis that has to be conducted, because obviously there's you guys have seen some of those cost estimates for the corridor. That would be a very large sum of money to put up. It would be a very large sum of money for anyone to finance. And so determining is it really worth the expenditure of funds, no matter what methods you might choose to move forward with. The qualitative risk There's a lot of modeling that goes into this, traffic and revenue forecasting, which is a very important component of determining the validity and potential success of any toll project. And then construction cost updates, which you guys saw in the previous presentation, that we're all dealing with inflation. And so we've got to predict that and how that could impact any project as well. So this comparative analysis work, we expect it's going to continue on from now on into next spring, hopefully around April in that time frame. Sometime thereafter, we could bring back information. And we're going to be giving you guys updates in between now and then, but bring back maybe something with enough information where a decision could be made in one form or another. And there's a lot of details that are inside this work. You guys can see them all out, see them there on the screen. I won't read every single one of them, but again, it's a collaborative effort. Quite a few consultants. We're going to continue the working group to help review this. Myself and Neil and others will stay engaged with the process. And even further down into some of those components, I mentioned traffic and revenue analysis. Subset of work that's going to occur under that line is, again, developing models, determining the base case. That's part of what we're doing with the I-5718 project development. It's going to tell us what could this project look like, sort of at a base scenario. And then the scenario and sensitivity development, where we might take a look at variations of alternatives deeper inside that project, what items might influence that project, such as cost increases that we just discussed. And the cost estimates themselves. We're hopeful that we're going to have more information, but I will tell you that it is becoming harder and harder to predict construction costs. I don't think that's new information to this group, but so again, we think we'll be near a conclusion on into next spring, or at least have information to draw a conclusion from. And so that's the presentation. That's the update. Be glad to take any questions, and if others in the room.
Okay, questions to our proposal? Dennis?
Yeah, thank you. Brett, you mentioned that the proposal from Cintra did not match the original specs of what you had in mind. Did Cintra have access to the specs, and why would there be a difference? Did they leave something out that they had a reason for concern? Do you have any of that high level background?
I think what I was trying to state was that it was very similar to the project that's already in the STIP. So as far as meeting specs, or there was nothing that would disqualify that proposal, if you will. It seemed to represent a good product, but again, it was just not materially different than what we already have in our plan today.
So to follow up, if they were, let's say, decide on a P3, if they were to come back and make a proposal, they would have to tweak what they submitted. It's not exactly what you were looking for.
So if we're going to move forward with a P3, we're going to have to publicly advertise that. It's going to have to go out to competitive bid, if you will, at that time. And so anybody that's interested, that's qualified, could submit that proposal and be considered. Yeah.
Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm trying to overlay what you just told us with conversations we've had before. So one thing that we were told by NCDOT previously was there was a very big difference in the timeline between the STIP process and the unsolicited bid. So was that not a factor in the comparison that led you then to?
So that comparative analysis will get into that. So, we're going to have to determine what funding would be needed when, if we were to pursue the public or NCTA delivery option. And we'll have to use cost estimates and some of those constraints that we've covered in other meetings, including our corridor caps. And then the details of the traffic and revenue work, we'll be able to apply that with more information to make a more informed decision.
Right, but we did, if you recall, we saw quite a lot of detail on timelines and things. And frankly, I thought that this body was comparing these two possibilities largely in the context of the time to delivery. That was the issue with the I-77 North. So it's interesting. This is not unwelcome, by the way, but it's interesting to me that no substantive difference was determined when the whole conversation here was about a possible 7 to 12 year difference in the completion date.
Yeah, so the scope of the project, maybe I should clear it up that way. We're talking about specifically the scope of the project wasn't materially different from what's in the plan. The delivery method or where we're going to get the money to build this really, that's what was, you could say, different about the unsolicited proposal, but the STIP doesn't tell us exactly necessarily where all of our funds are coming from, because we do have alternatives, including a P3 to consider.
Right.
The timeline really hasn't changed as far as when we might be able to put together a public option. But with this comparative analysis, we're going to have more detailed information. And so we'll be able to move forward with more certainty. If you remember, some of those timelines were very broad, right? They were ranges. We'd like to be able to narrow that down some.
So is it news that now Sintra will not automatically proceed? Because again, I thought in earlier meetings of this group, we had considered the fact that Sintra might automatically proceed because of the unsolicited bid. But what you're telling us now is that no more work is being done to process the unsolicited bid, and that Sintra, because of the finding that they were basically equivalent with the STIP, so without prejudice, but nonetheless, there was no reason to kind of give them that automatic.
Correct.
And so quite honestly, given the sensitivity around Sintra, I think that's good news. I like the idea that they're going to be on a completely level playing field with any other bidder and not have a big advantage from having submitted the bid. I guess the last thing was, we did hear in the past a cost estimate of, I think, $2.1 billion. So are you now expecting the number to be very different once this is done?
So we're progressing the work on I-5718. And as we progress work, we're able to refine our estimates. And given what we've seen, the inflation numbers that were discussed here tonight, yeah, I would expect that cost could continue to rise.
Right. I think this whole discussion about cost escalation is kind of interesting because for one, nobody knows. Okay, let's be honest. I do think that recent experience would indicate that 3% is too conservative, personal opinion. Last question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Based on the process you've described, you anticipate that a decision about the P3 would be made sometime in the spring next year, I guess. And that if this body decided to move ahead, at that time, you would issue the request for proposal and start the whole process of engaging with potential contractors.
So it's the comparative analysis work that we hope to be complete with by the spring. And then after that, we'll be able to bring it back to CRTPO. And then it will be up to you guys to determine what the next steps are.
That's right.
If it looked favorable, would we move forward with the P3? That's going to be up to CRTPO. And after that, if it's yes, then we could consider procuring or moving toward procurement at that time. Advertising.
But you will have no further engagement with a potential contractor between now and then. Is that right?
Well, so there will be some soft market sounding activities that would occur as a part of the comparative analysis. So yes, we may speak with some folks in this industry. That's part of that analysis, but nothing beyond that.
But you would do that equally with Sintra and others.
Absolutely.
Wherever the expertise was, that would be
Absolutely.
useful. All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. John.
Thank you, Brett. Help me understand the apparent contradiction. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but you said the working group and the oversight committee decided not to move forward with the unsolicited proposal, and yet you're doing a comparative analysis. What are you comparing? Are you comparing the Centra proposal that the working group and oversight committee said that you don't want to proceed with, or is it
No,
P3 in general?
P3 in general.
As an
Yeah.
option?
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah, it's P3 in general. You know, it's a comparison of, could this be a P3? Could this be a publicly funded NCTA delivered project? What would those two cases look like?
But for now, there's no further dialogue with Centra.
Yeah, the unsolicited proposal really doesn't change the outcome, because after we were asked to conduct a comparative analysis, you know, that process moves on separately and independent of this unsolicited proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Lee?
Thank you. So just so I understand, had Centra offered a plan that was sort of substantively different, then this process would have continued. But because it was basically what you were already planning, it doesn't get to stand alone and continue in the process that I mean, is that first statement correct?
Well, so the unsolicited proposal may or may not have moved forward, regardless of what the content of it was, because the department reserves the right to reject any proposal for really any reason. So that outcome wasn't predetermined. And if the proposal was different, that wouldn't have necessarily changed, but it could have. But that's a lot of what ifs. So I think the important thing to realize is that the unsolicited proposal itself was a separate item compared to the comparative analysis. And so we can move forward with that and get more information, and then I'll have more information to process and make better decisions with.
But I just want to understand the reason why the unsolicited proposal, the process has been ended,
Mhm.
is because it was too similar to what was already in the STIP.
That's
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, all right, so Centra could be in the future, may not be in the future, but it'll be competing equally with anyone out there in the market. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Stephen?
I just want to clarify something that Councilor Driggs implied or said. The Board of Transportation in no way would give Centra a card to go past go. This was a long way before anything would be done. The other thing is that if the municipalities that are part of this organization believe strongly in this road getting built, which I do, I would suggest you start lobbying hard and soon, because there's other sources of money. This is a lot of money. I think that there's many ways to do this, but we better figure it out. We better get it done soon. I'm astounded. I drive this road regularly, how it's congested. I don't care what time of the day. And we've got to find a solution. We need to look at interim solutions as well as what the final solution is.
We're good. Good.
I just want to understand what you're suggesting. Like, I sense an urgency there, but what is it exactly you propose we do?
What I've been suggesting at every meeting for the 3 years I've been here, spend more time with your legislative, I have to use the right word, those in charge of the legislature, conveying what you want to see happen. This area gets a disproportionate, on the negative side, revenue for transportation. There's many reasons, but one is you don't speak up to the right people, and therefore you don't get results.
So this body hasn't actually come together around an agenda to lobby the legislature. So
I was very careful
what-
to say municipalities, not the body. I said the
are
municipalities.
you
that are
saying the
member of this.
municipalities so that we should individually kind of just step up?
Absolutely.
I just want to understand your
Yeah.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's my personal opinion.
That's
That
okay.
you
That's
should
good. That's a
step
good one.
up
Yeah.
dramatically your engagement with the officials that run the House and the Senate.
Yeah, I think I've been doing that and on mobility and on this. And you're right, they are really not paying much attention. So I think that's a very good advice. Thank you.
Oh, very good. Anybody else, any comments, thoughts on the room? So it sounds like this one is informational for us. I don't think there's any requirement for any vote. Thank you, Brett. Appreciate the effort. I want to say it was a good collaborative and very eye-opening effort to be able to sit and watch that movement. And we wanted to make sure that we basically opened up every box on the topic to make sure we weren't missing anything that could be to our advantage. But it doesn't seem like even from the timeline that there's enough of a advantage that by their criteria that would be able to move that project forward with an unsolicited proposal. So again, to be clear, the project is still moving down its originally intended course. And to Stephen's comment is, it may move faster if we have more influence at the legislative body level in Raleigh. So I will strongly recommend that we all do that individually. And if we decide to do it collectively, I guess that's another discussion someday, but maybe that could happen.
I've got a question.
You have a question? Okay, go.
Just to be totally transparent and clear, say it was Centra or any other P3 that we tried to go along with. Does this body right here, CRTPO, have to vote on that for it to go forward? Or can that be done independently by DOT?
We vote. Yeah, we vote on that.
Yeah. Because I believe it was Mayor Edwards said that when the northern portion was built, that the contract came in signed. The deal was already done before this board ever even voted on it. I wasn't on the board then, so I don't know, but that's what I've been told.
Well, certainly, hopefully we're better advised, more experience, different board, different time. So hopefully let's play with that and not to dwell on the past, because I know it's really a sensitive topic for everybody. And I
Mr.
think
Chair,
everybody's heard that.
the
Yes, sir.
NCDOT has repeatedly told us that they will not proceed other than with the support of this group. So I think we can be confident based on what they've said in the past that they won't do anything that we don't know about.
And I'm sure we're all going to keep them on their toes.
Yeah, one other quick comment. I'm a member of the Metro Mayors, and I can assure you that the Metro Mayors group lobbies for transportation dollars every time we go to Raleigh to meet with Phil Berger and everyone there, and governor and everyone. So we've been trying, kind of falling on deaf ears, unfortunately.
Yes, Lee.
Mayor Higdon, I'm really glad you asked that because I recently got an email where it was asserted to me that CRTPO plays no role in project finance. So to your point, I want to be really clear, like this person was, I think, telling me, you can vote upon whether or not you want to have managed lanes or not, but you can't decide how it will be financed. And that was exactly what was just recently said to me. So again, isn't that the thrust of your question, Mr. Higdon?
Yes. I
Okay,
think
and
there's
the
some-
answer, who's answering the question and what is the answer? Who's answering the question? Who can authoritatively answer that question?
Stephen?
I don't know if I'm authoritatively capable of answering it, but I'll answer it to the best of my ability. And a lot is in the actual wording. Does this body decide on how the funding will take place? No. Does this body make recommendation to the board on what structure should be used? Absolutely. Would the board do something that this body didn't want done? In my opinion, no. But if you get into the nuances of how it will be funded, that'll be a DOT decision.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Thoughts and comments around the room anymore? All right, we'll move on then. Upcoming agenda items. Mr. Burke, you're up.
September 20th, CRTPO board agenda is anticipated to include the following items. We have two action items that we're anticipating. Approval on the CRTPO discretionary program policy revisions, which you heard an information report about tonight, as well as approval of the CRTPO planning area boundary as an outcome from the 2020 census. And then we have 4 information items. We have Federal Transit Administration 5307 Transit Agency Annual Reports from our 4 transit providers within our planning area, an update on the Connect Beyond initiative, CRTPO public involvement update, and a CRTPO strategic plan update. And I have a 2 other quick announcements. This one is about an upcoming Metrolina household travel survey. So NCDOT and SCDOT, along with local partners, will be launching this travel survey. These are conducted approximately every 10 years. The results of the survey are the major input into the regional travel demand model, which we use heavily in the development of our metropolitan transportation plan, as well as our TIP development process. This is the most critical tool for understanding how people travel in the region. The survey will begin on September 15th, and it will go through November 2023. NCDOT and SCDOT will issue a media release before the survey opens in September. And this would affect all of your member jurisdictions. Approximately 5,000 surveys will be collected randomly from selected residents in the 12-county Metrolina region. Study participants will receive a gift card for their time. All survey results are confidential, and information collected is not shared to external parties. And then I just have one last announcement. This is about the Federal Highway Administration Certification Review Report. FHWA provided the final report summarizing CRTPO's quadrennial census on July 31st. We are pleased to report that the review resulted in no corrective actions and only 3 minor recommendations, which we plan on addressing in the development of the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan later on this year and into next year. This positive outcome is a result of strong and supportive leadership at the CRTPO board, the technical coordinating committee, and lead planning agencies, as well as a high-performing staff. Federal Highway Administration staff has offered to conduct a presentation on the outcome and the recommendations within the certification review report. Please let the CRTPO board leadership or staff know if you'd like this item placed on an upcoming agenda. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. That's a good positive note. And we have Loretta over here smiling all the way down. So thanks for the help with that, going through that whole process. Appreciate you being here. We'll move over to a couple of cleanup items. We're talking about the MOU and the legal counsel, the RFP for that. So just a small update on that. So that was the RFP was issued in July 19th, closed on August 11th. One proposal was received, and staff is reviewing that proposal and will report back to us after that review. We certainly hope it will be at or before the next meeting, so we can have it on that agenda. So right now, it's at that stage. I see you have a question. Speaking for John? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was going to say, John, you weren't going to let that happen, were you? So, all right. And then the next one is talking about the managed lane questions. A lot of us had questions. I think there were 50 questions that we wanted submitted to mobility partners. That has happened, submitted to them. And it's on the existing I-77 lanes between Mooresville and Uptown Charlotte. From 7 of the board members. So I think the 7 know who they are already. We're going to give you that consolidated list almost immediately after. By tomorrow, probably morning, you'll all have those for your review. We've again, they've been provided to the I-77 mobility partners and DOT, because again, we look at the protection of the relationship. We can ask them that, but the relationship is between DOT and mobility partners. And given that the questions seem to have a very, very wide range of complex issues, it may take both parties, NCDOT and I-77, a little bit of time to respond. So we're going to await that response. We should have that back shortly, certainly being before the next meeting. And some of them, again, are complex. Some may be answered in a day or two. Some may take a little bit more time to answer those. So we want to await their response to us on the 50 questions. They may categorize some of them and say, I can answer 1, 7, and 5 this way, and I can get that to you by Monday. I can answer other ones at certain time levels, but we're going to let them respond back to us. So again, a complete copy of the questions that were submitted will be distributed to this board later this week, probably tomorrow. And so Neil has that one.
Yep, and I have just one more announcement. I forgot about this one, and I apologize. Jarrell has an announcement on the transit providers work group.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jarrell Leonard with CRTPO. So the status of the transit providers work group is we're in the process of not only getting it ready to kick off in September, but we're also conducting interviews with the transit providers within the CRTPO planning area. We're working with Central Line Regional Council as the primary body to be the facilitators. We are also going to have next month, as was previously mentioned, the 5307 annual report from all of the providers that's going to come before your board. That is one of the initial things that's going to be embraced and brought into the transit provider work group. So just be on the lookout next month. And also the interviews will be conducted starting next week with all the providers, including CATS, all the way down to Union and Iredell County Transportation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jarrell. Appreciate that. All right, so we're down near the end of our meeting here. Any other comments, thoughts, sharing for the good of the group all the way around? Stephen?
Mr. Chair, I want to inform the board that tonight the state legislature voted SB 512. You may remember, as it relates to transportation, that moves the divisional appointments to the legislature and it moves the at-large appointments to the governor. Thank you.
And you say voted, we don't have the results of that, or we do?
They voted in the affirmative for the bill.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. All right, seeing no other hands go up, everybody wants to go home, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Second. All the way around, aye?
Yes.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, appreciate it.
A couple of solutions.
Okay.